Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're bringing you yet another battle report from the bridge of Tier 10 Premium American Super Cruiser thing, USS Puerto Rico. Now, I had a week, a few weeks ago now, earlier in October, where it was basically USS Puerto Rico week here on the channel. I had like 3 or 4 replays I posted of that ship. And they were decent games, most of them. And since then, Wargaming has kind of taken the feedback of the super testers and the CCs, and they've made one noteworthy change to Puerto Rico. They have changed her Sigma value. Her Sigma value is now up to 2.2, which means that she still has a very large dispersion circle, but she should throw a more consistent pattern within that circle more commonly at this point. So, I've been playing this ship for the last week-ish, trying to kind of find a configuration that works. And it's been a very up and down ride. If you've watched any of my Twitch stream, you've seen I've had some very mediocre, downright bad, very frustrating games in this ship. And so here I am spawning on the southeast side of Trap here on a Sunday morning, trying out this ship yet again. Now, I'd made a deal with myself when I spawned into this game that I was going to spend most of my game firing nothing but armor-piercing shells. I've spent a lot of time with Puerto Rico's HE, and to be brutally honest, it is almost just not worth the time. There are ships, you find yourself in situations where, yes, you should be firing the HE. But in general, it's just, especially at long range, it's just not good. It's just not good. So, I'm intentionally forcing myself to fire the AP at long range, where I historically have not had a lot of success with it. But this Hindenburg early on is showing me a decent angle, so I'm trying to kind of judge his speed, judge the lead I need to give, because these shells, if you've played the American battleship line, you know, especially like it's about North Carolina, you've got to put a lot of lead on those shells, and we land an early citadel here on Hindenburg. Now, if you know Hindenburg, you know that her armor scheme is much more vulnerable to plunging fire at these kinds of ranges than she is up close. If I was within 12 to 10 kilometers of this Hindenburg, I doubt I'd be getting citadels. But at this kind of range, yeah, those can plunge right through his deck armor, and I can do some solid damage. He's got a buddy there, a Des Moines, right behind him, and I can't really see what I'm shooting at. I'm kind of guessing as to his movement. I find it very difficult to lead properly with islands in my line of vision, but I took a shot anyway. Why not? And, well, that worked out pretty well. Almost 24,000 damage here early. 6 pens and a citadel. So just like that, in less than 3 minutes, I've got over 40,000 damage out of the AP. So at this exact moment in this game, I'm feeling really, really good about my decision to, okay, I'm going to come in this game, I'm only going to fire AP. Now, strategically, as we look at the minimap, we're charging up the 10 line here because Puerto Rico is not a stealthy ship, and if I go out there in front of these islands where I've spotted by God and everybody, that Des Moines, the Yamato backing them up there in the middle of the map, the Hindenburg, the Harugumo to the north, they'll all just focus me out, right? I'm a test ship. I know how this plays. So I'm intentionally being a little cagey, playing well behind here, looking for shots. This Kurfürst in front of me, to his credit, is kind of being a bit of a bully here. I'm really hoping he doesn't go up to the A line, right? I just don't feel like it's necessary for us to do that this early. My plan right now is I'm going to move up the 10 line here until I get into about B10 or maybe B9, depending on how I come around this island. And I'm trying to flex my radar. You can see the last reported position of Harugumo on the cap. Now, he's not on the cap right now. We know he's left the cap. So my assumption is that he reversed back off into like A8 or something and is probably turned back the other way or is just kind of getting reorganized to try again. We do have 2 Shimikazes and a Z52 in the vicinity of the cap. 1 Shima in the cap. This Fallout 76 guy right in front of me about to head back into the cap. So, we're making a good play for this position. But with no eyes on the Des Moines and the Hindenburg, I decide, well, I've got a decent angle at this Yami. Let's see what I can get out of the AP. Because I know from Hindenburg's, for example, if I can land these shells into his upper belt and hopefully not bounce them off his deck, that I can get some decent damage. And we do get a little bit there. Harugumo, you can see there's running away from the cap now. We've got eyes on him. Shimikaze to the south is dead. He becomes our first casualty of the game. As the Shimikaze that was right in front of me now, kind of heading south in the cap. And I keep thinking, I wanted that to be such a good salvo, and it just wasn't. Just wasn't. Hindenburg and Des Moines and the Harugumo have now kind of zeroed in on me now. They want me to They want me dead. But I look up and I see this Smolensk trying to work in behind that island, and I'm like, well, if you're going to turn, I'm going to lead you. And those look really, really good. They look really, really good. And bam. Nice hit. I mean, it's a Smolensk. He'll just heal and smoke and continue to be a jerk, but it feels good to know that I can do that to him. Unfortunately, in front of me, this Kurfürst is doing exactly what I was really hoping he wouldn't do, and he's continuing to push up around onto the A-line. There's no need for this, right? He's out there in front of a Des Moines, a Hindi, a Harugumo, and a Yamato. The Smolensk down south is probably gunning for him. Like, he's got 4 or 5 ships shooting at him. This only ends one way. I never intended to push around this island. I pop the radar, trying to help him out. No dice, everything's too far out. Well, it is what it is. And I'd realized that if I go out there with him, my game will be over. Accidentally clicked the mouse there. And, okay, well, so I start getting angled to turn back. I've got a couple of shots, decently angled shots on this DM, but he is angling well to me, and mostly because he's trying to angle to the Kurfürst, but it works out that he covers both his bases with the position he's taking. Now, in the overall strategy of the game here, our team at the south has done a decent job. They're not moving very quickly, right? We're 6.5 minutes into this game, and they're just now onto the edge of the A-cap, so they're not in a hurry. That's kind of bad for us, because if you look at the top, you look at our position on the minimap, there's at least 6 ships up here. Okay, there's now only, well, let's see, what are we about to... We're about to lose the Kurfürst. There he goes. So there's only 4 of us now, so we are outnumbered. They have a dedicated, the Des Moines radar can be an issue. The Harugumo will absolutely outgun anything, and the Kleber in the middle of the map, we saw him there capping B earlier, is probably going to come this way. Yep, there he is, right there in E7. We've caught sight of him. So he's coming up this way as well. With no eyes on anybody on the A or B line, I'm kind of like, well, I might as well take a shot at this Kleber or the Shima. Now, the Shima is gonna die before I can get my guns on him. The Smolensk is doing his level best to make that happen, so kudos to that guy. In fact, the Smolensk on my team is just playing a great game. So I realized, all right, well, this Zed is going to need help with the Kleber. Like, this Zed is in trouble. So I swap over to the HE because I have the fancy 75% expert loader on my captain. It takes less than 5 seconds to do that, which is nice. But as is commonly the case with the Kleber, I don't lead him quite enough. I guess I was, that was my Khabarovsk lead, high 40s speed, not the mid 50s. So as the guns reload, I have the AP loaded. I don't swap this time. He's so low at this point. I'm like, well, to hell with it. I just got to hit him with a couple of shells. I go for some more lead this time, and yeah, well, dispersion trolls me. Yep, probably a little behind him still, but with a little better dispersion ellipse, I probably could have landed something. Smolensk is doing what he does. He's staked himself out to an island. There are many islands like it, but this one is mine, so he's trying to spam me to death, but not having a whole lot of luck with it. As now it looks as if either the Kleber or the Harugumo is back onto sea. So now we're in a bit of a pickle, right? It's the Shima, the Smolensk, and me. The Shima can't hold forever. There's a Des Moines up there. The Smolensk and I have the same problem. There's a Yamato and a Des Moines and a Smolensk and a and we're probably outnumbered at least 2-1 up there. So it's time to move south. The Smolensk senses it. I sense it. I'm trying to get shots on their Smolensk there, that Silver Fox guy, just because he's giving me an angle. But once again, for whatever reason, don't lead him quite enough. These American shells lose so much velocity, you've got to put a ton of lead in there. I'm not super enamored with the Shimakaze's position on our team. He's about to find himself in a world of pain. He hasn't quite realized it yet, but it's going to happen. As the Smolensk, off my starboard bow there, decides he's going to run south. I'm running south. The Minotaur up down the 8 line is also running south. As our team, remember like 5 minutes ago, I noted they were finally into the bottom end of A. Well, guess what, guys? They're still in A. So, there's pretty much nothing else we can do here. We cannot hold C. We can't cap it. We can't hold it, so it's time to go. As all we can do at this point is run south and hope our team in A finds out where their engines are and moves into the middle of the map. Now, the Minnow and the Gearing that are working the B cap are having a great tag team together, so kudos to them. They're playing very, very well. They haven't driven off the Shimakaze. Like, they know he's still in the cap. They don't know where. But they're holding back those points, so that allows us to make up a little bit of the gap. We're only about 100 points down now as we get to the 10-minute mark of the match. And one of the things that this little sequence here kind of highlights is just how tanky Puerto Rico is. One of the things that I've discovered playing this ship is that it's incredibly hard to citadel this ship. It's not impossible, but it is very difficult. And so when you combine her resilience, let's say, her tankiness with that 18.8 kilometer range, what it means to me is that I've been playing the ship a little wrong. For a while, I was playing the ship with range mod, pushing her range out to over 21 kilometers. But the reload mod is really a better call, in my opinion, because you want to play this ship in mid-range. And so I'm taking the sonar, I'm taking the radar, and then I'm trying to keep this ship as best I can without getting it dead in the 15-ish kilometer range for most of the targets that I'm shooting at. Shimakaze, of course, has died to the 6 ships in the sea cap there up north. Take a pot shot at the Smolensk, losing sight of him, but no dice. As the Yamato, we see a Yamato there in H4, he's run aground. Sigh. We kind of need those guys in B. We needed them in B like 5 minutes ago. And they're just chilling. They don't want to give up the A cap. It's like, well, that's not even a threat. Now, not to be too rude, but the Yamatos on the other team aren't really doing much better. You can see them reverse bow tanking on the 2 and the 3 line over there. I get another good shot at this Hindenburg. He doesn't have eyes on me. He doesn't know quite where I am, so he can't return fire. It's a pretty good-looking salvo, and yep, that's a pretty good-looking salvo. Only 5 overpens, but overpens on these shells hit for, well, quite a bit. Try another salvo, because he hasn't quite really changed his course. You can see him now starting to turn to the north as he heals. I'm going to lose sight of him right as these land, and that's another sit and another full pen. So I probably hit him for about 10 or 11k there. He ought to be on about 3,000 or 4,000 HP, but again, we don't have eyes on him. We've managed to pick up the lead now by bagging one of the Yamatos on the 2 line. So that's good. The team down there is doing a decent job of keeping those guys pinned down. I'm going to give them that. As now we've got enough ships up here that we can really put some pressure on this Smolensk in there, Cap. He's very low. This is maybe a questionable salvo. Like, you know, the guy's only on 4,000 HP, but I've learned do not trust your teammates to finish a kill. Take the shot, and if they beat you to it, well, so be it. With only an angled Des Moines that I can see within my range, it's time to break out the HE. Now, again, this is suboptimal. I'm learning that using the HE on the ship is, I won't say it's pointless, but it's definitely not what you want. You can do good work against angled cruisers with the HE, but do not expect to get really good salvos against many battleships. Like, you will on occasion, but it's so hit or miss, you can't really rely on it. We do light a fire, which the DM puts out. So, of course, we're going to give him another one of those. As now I look at the map and realize, okay, the Yamatos are pushing into the middle of the board. We have a gearing and a minnow in B. We own B now. We have a 2-ship lead. We own a points lead. There's no reason for me to keep retreating. It's time to put some pressure on these guys, double back, and get back into this game. I'm also realizing that we don't know where that Shimakaze in B was, so we have no idea where he is now, and the Harugumo's still out there, so my radar and sonar can be a little more effective if I'm pushing them up where we expect the enemy ships to be, rather than continuing to move away from where we anticipate finding them. Steam, still being a thorn in my side, but continuing to burn him a little bit. This salvo does go in, and I do manage to bag a fire as one of their surviving Yamato way over on the sea line, taking pot shots at me. That was his forward turrets. We're going to see him in a moment. You'll see the stern turret come in. But one of the things that I really come to appreciate about Puerto Rico is that at long range, her citadel protection is pretty good, right? Can you get citadel? Yes, but it is not easy. They have to land it just right. And with this kind of flight time, it's easy for me to just kick the rudder over and dodge those shells completely. Now, the Harugumo has worked himself into a bit of a pickle. He's at point-blank range with a gearing, and he's on very low health, so that's not going to end well for him. As we swap over to the AP, realizing, all right, well, Hindy's showing me a great angle. I should absolutely take this shot. I think I might have shorted it a little bit there. We'll see what we get out of it. I look in, he turns, and oh, that looks like a really good dispersion, and yeah, I shorted it. Son of a bitch. I hate it when that happens, man. You pull the trigger and you're like, oh, this is going to be so good, and then it just isn't. Game's winding down here, though. With a 5-ship lead, there's not much left that they can do. I'm going to get one more solid salvo into this Hindi. Garbage dispersion, but randomly land a citadel. As, yep, we're going to... No, that wasn't it. Son of a... You fire the guns thinking you know what they're going to do, right? It just never works out. They always turn a different way. It's super irritating. But we do finally bag the Des Moines. That long thorn in my side, we do finally get him in the end. And as time ticks away here, we're going to finish this game up. The Shimakaze's never going to be spotted again, and this will be a solid win. So, as I put more games into Puerto Rico, what I'm realizing is this is really a mid-range kind of cruiser bully. She's very not optimized for dealing with destroyers. Alaska is you can play in Alaska in a destroyer hunter role in a pinch. I don't really know that I feel that way about Puerto Rico. At least not reliably. There are times you can get away with it, but there are times that it's really not what you want to be doing with this ship, especially since you have to give up so much of her angles to get all 12 guns into action. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'll have some more coming up this week. Be safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.